G'day everyone, we really hope you enjoy this episode.
Hope you do. Remember to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share with your friends.
Yeah, cheers guys.
The hook out is poor boobies. They're not very smart.
Bloody idiots.
Okay.
Alright, set him out.
You're free.
There you go, buddy.
There you go.
Don't come back and tell your friends. Good job.
So that is the third booby that we've hooked today. Pull them in, we throw a towel over them, that kind of like calms them down, and then the hook's actually pretty easy to get out of their beak, so hopefully they're okay. There's a ton of them here all diving for it. We decided to pull the lures in for a while and hopefully lose these guys because we don't want to keep hooking them.
We just turned on the motor here. We've got the spinnaker poled out. We've had it poled out all morning and we flew it all night. As we came around the bottom, the south side here of Isla Turner, currents are doing their crazy thing. We're actually going backwards for a little bit there, about 0.2 of a knot and then negative 0.2 of a knot. So we turned it on, we're just running it at like 1400 RPM. Try and round this point here and then hopefully the currents will subside and we'll turn that back off and just go by spinnaker again. But it's a great day for spinnaker otherwise. It's just 0.1 is not really getting us anywhere. And the negative is certainly not getting us anywhere.
Well, after an awesome morning and midday of spinnaker sailing, all of a sudden we came out the other side of Isla Tiburon into Canal del Infierno, which is the Inferno Canal, headed across to Kino. Wind picked up to 20 knots, doused the spinnaker, got the main and genoa out, and it is super choppy, but we're flying along at more than 7 knots, so we should be there in about an hour. Arriving at our first anchorage off mainland Mexico, we enjoyed an incredible sunset, watching the birds flock around Isla Pelicano, and took in the lights of civilization all around us. After spending so much time away from civilization, it was quite strange to wake up in such a busy place.
Kino Bay on the mainland. We're going to sail off anchor here. We're going to see if we can get out of here and navigate out between all these shrimp boats that come in.
What you doing back there?
Trying to scare away the boobies. They keep going after our lure. You had to rescue one already this morning.
Yeah.
They don't give up out here. It's like they don't have, either they're used to the shrimp boats having fish off the back or they're really hungry because they just keep on going after these lures.
And getting them too.
Hardcore, yeah. So we're trying to scare them away with our fishy bell, cowbell.
So it's a nice, windy, choppy, fast sail over to Tiburon. Should be there in about half an hour and making good time.
Just be really annoying. The most annoying sound in the world, and boobies run from you. He's coming back. Where did he go? No! Go away! Go away! No! Fuck off! You wanker! Get out of here! It's my booby deterrent. It makes boobies disappear. He comes back in, he's swooping in. Ready? Go! It works. They haven't dove for it lately.
They haven't, not since you started doing that.
We need to get more of these.
Yeah?
The cowbells for our fish bell, for our booby alarm.
Waking up at Isla Tiburon after a quick visit to the mainland, we had a renewed appreciation for the peace and quiet that we have enjoyed over the past few months at remote islands and deserted anchorages. The Sea of Cortez has been a truly incredible place to explore, and we are so glad that we have taken our time trying to experience as much as we can here. As we begin making our journey south, we know that it will be quite some time before we are lucky enough to reach another area with so few people. We are out at Isla Tiburon, which is about 15 miles or so off mainland Mexico. It's actually the biggest island in the Sea of Cortez. And it's a really weird day today here. It started off bright and sunny, then this really low cloud cover came in, and it's really muggy and feels kind of tropical and looks tropical, except for it's a desert island here. But kind of a weird day. Hanging out. Ties downstairs, working on trying to make some flatbread without yeast, because we are out of yeast, along with most of our other fresh items. How's it going down there?
Good. Roll this out and grill it on the cast iron, see if it works.
See if it works.
Have it with that nice chicken salad you made up.
Yep, because we're pretty much out of all of our veggies, fresh stuff, yeast, sugar.
Gonna have to do another batch of yogurt though. That's our
Fresh
batch just yesterday that we made.
Do up some more.
Smells good. Good stuff. The life of brush man. And then I'm going to alt it.
Alt it.
And then go alt it.
Go alt it.
Really big swells right now, not very steep, which is good, just really huge rolling waves.
It was a really light wind this morning, but now it's picked up and we're making great time.
We had to let out the main a little just because we're heeling over like crazy there. We're pretty tight to the wind right now, heading straight towards where we want to go.
Pulled out of Isla Tiburon this morning and we're headed out to Esteban, which is kind of smack dab in the middle of the Sea of Cortez up here.
It's been a good sailing day, but we have had to pull our lures in and out a bunch because these boobies, which are right over us, are going to poop on us right now. Keep taking up. Look at this guy. You just keep going for our lures.
They are very persistent.
Yeah, this area particularly, they keep getting on our lure. Hillary has to keep freeing them.
Yeah, we've had like 4 or 5 we had to free, so now we just pull our lures in when they're around because we don't want to hook them.
Yep.
Well, we arrived here at Esteban yesterday afternoon, and it's pretty windy and rolly here. It's not a really great protected anchorage. We were really excited to go explore inland a little bit because it looks like a really cool island. It has a huge valley that kind of cuts across the whole center of the island. But conditions aren't really good. We're thinking we're going to get out of here this morning and make our way south to Guaymas. It's supposed to be pretty good wind like this. We're having like 15 knots, gusts to 20, 25. So I think we're going to make our way south, get out of here, and use the wind to sail.
Like Hillary had mentioned, we're going to head on out of here. I'm not too comfortable with this anchorage as it is in this norther. We're totally unprotected this direction, coming right down out of the north. I guess we have Isla Tiburon, which helps a little bit. There is a reef that runs out quite a ways back here, right behind us. So we're on a lee shore as well, which is where we don't really want to be. On top of that, our anchor did not set first go last night, which is one of the first times that has happened. It did look like a slightly rockier bottom in the areas here. We tried to find a sandy patch, and it did set well after a while, but we did not dive on it, so we don't have that visual confirmation. So I think for a better night's sleep too, it'll be good to head further. So yeah, while we're under sail, there's a big compressor that we turn sideways here in the salon. It lives down here in the salon, but we turn it sideways here during sailing so that when we're heeled over it doesn't go tumbling. We need to find a home for that. That's something we're going to look at once we haul out and see about putting it up on top of the deck. That way we don't have to lift it in and out of the companionway as well, which is obviously quite a bit of work to get it up and down all the time. It has been a while, but today we have Dan back out, our windvane. He's back driving the boat. It's been a long time since we've had Dan up and running by himself. We haven't really had any real long stretches in good wind to have him go at. Today we've got it routed probably 120 miles plus on our route down to Guaymas area, so it'll be a good length of time for him to steer for us. He's doing a great job so far. It was no worries. Hooked him right back up and away we go. Kind of downwind right now, maybe just off of our port side, and I'm doing about 4.5 to 5 knots. A little bit of laundry hanging out the back. Putting the pole on is probably the only thing that would help.
Yeah.
We had been sailing downwind under Genoa alone, but as the swells built, we decided to raise a reefed main to help stabilize the boat and try to reduce the rolling. Then, Ty pulled out the Genoa with the whisker pole, allowing us to sail dead downwind, wing and wing. As soon as we finished our sail adjustments, we were greeted by a huge pod of friendly dolphins frolicking in the waves. Even though we have seen this sight so many times, it really never gets old. As we sailed, the brown boobies continued to follow our boat. We determined that these were almost all juveniles, which may explain why they had not yet learned to tell the difference between a fishing lure and a real fish. One poor guy had a particularly tough time after getting hooked and spent a couple of hours recovering and napping up on deck.
Have our fishing lures pulled in right now, which is kind of a bummer because this is supposed to be a really good area for fishing around San Pedro Martir, but we've just been catching boobies like crazy. I don't know, all these boobies keep diving and getting hooked on our lures, so we decided we should pull them in for a while, wait for them to leave, but they just keep showing up and going for the lures, so no fishing at the moment right now.
There goes the sun, our last sunset for a while over the sea as we're heading into Guaymas area, and we'll be hauling out to do a bit of boat work. The fun has to stop at some point. We've got to do a little bit of maintenance and just regular routine type maintenance anyway. I haven't been feeling too well the last couple of days, had a bit of a stomach ache, so Hillary's been taking care of business here. Thank you.
Yeah.
So she's making a bit of soup downstairs right now for tonight. If you guys haven't seen Dan before, he's been steering us all day long. Make sure you click on one of the links here to one of our older videos where we talk all about Dan and how he helps us get along as a third crew member.
Sun's about to go over the horizon.
About 6.5 knots for the last few hours, eh?
Yeah, we've been flying along really fast.
Making pretty good time. We plotted this route at about 4.5 knots, which would get us in about 8 a.m. I think right now we've averaged just over 5 knots. So we'll see how we go. We might have to slow down a little bit before we arrive, if it's before sunlight. Beautiful night. There goes the sun.
Fish?
Yeah. I think we got a fish.
We got a fish!
We're in the middle of doing something, we got a fish!
No booby on the line, a
No,
fish on the
thank
line.
God.
Well, we did finally get a fish, and it's a dorado, but it's a tiny, tiny little baby. I think we're gonna have to throw him back. I don't know, maybe we'll leave him on for a bit. We hear they attract others. Kind of feel kind of bad dragging him behind the boat though, but tiny little guy. So little.
So he's a small guy. We'll leave him on the line. Gee. We'll leave him on the line for a minute, see if any other guys come by.
I think, I'm not quite sure, I haven't looked at the map, but I think the sun just went down over the hill at San Francisquito. And then there's a couple other big mountains that we can see that I'm guessing are the Tres Virgenes volcanoes.
And what's that near?
And that's just north of Santa Rosalia.
What a beautiful sunrise coming up over Guaymas here on the mainland of Mexico again. We're going to head in here this morning. Been hearing a bunch of cargo ships trying to enter the port here, calling on the radio. We don't know too much about this area, so we're going to take it slow as we go in. I do know it's quite shallow in there, especially where we're heading, which is, I believe we're going to head to the south end of the Guaymas area. We're just going to take our time and then start researching, because we haven't done much. So I've got a bit of service now. I'm trying to look up different bottom paints and see what our options are and what we're going to do. Since we've never painted Varuna's bottom before, and neither of us have ever painted a bottom of a boat, we don't really know what we're doing, so we're going to figure it out as we go.
About 8 a.m. The wind died this morning, kind of right before the sun came up, and just drifting along. We're almost there. You can see back behind me. It's the last point that we'll round before we come into Guaymas. And with the wind dying, we decided that we were going to start the motor and get on there on the high tide, because that's in about an hour, and it's pretty shallow inside the bay there. But when we started the motor, we noticed that there was no water coming out the back. So now Ty's downstairs investigating that. Lovely way to start the morning, huh?
I don't know, the impeller looks fine.
Trying to see what the problem is. We checked our sea strainer, that looks all clear, and Ty just checked the impeller, which looks fine as well. But after we start the motor, about 30 seconds to a minute later, the water just stops coming out the back, which means it's not cooling, not running through the exhaust system, so we can't run the engine because it'll overheat. So we're gonna have to figure that out before we come into the harbor here, because like I said, it's pretty shallow in there, have to navigate pretty carefully, and there's next to no wind right now, so kind of hard to sail.
So Hillary's talking
prorated
to the
less than 1 month?
the yard where we're hoping to haul out from. Find our way in since we've never been here before. Also get us arranged for the haul out and get some pricing. Just got done playing with the engine because we weren't having overheating, but Hillary had noticed when we started it up this morning to try and get into the harbour here, we have had no water coming out, or limited water. We checked the strainer, we're good there, pulled out the impeller looks great. Changed the zinc while I was at it. That didn't really have anything to do with it, but just since I was there, I was like, why not? Pulling stuff apart. One of the hoses from the sea strainer in through the transmission was actually a little bit stiff, so there might have been some buildup of stuff in there. I don't know, we kind of played with that and manipulated the hose a bit, and it seems to be running okay right now. We're going to fire it up again after Hillary's done on the phone here and double check. It's just past high tide, so we're hoping we can head in.
Alright, I don't know what we did. Took stuff apart, put it back together, and now there's water coming out the back, which is good. So we can head on in.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. And if you'd like to learn more about our journey and how you can support the making of these videos, be sure to check out the links down below. Until next time, adios.
The ultimate booby distractor.
No!